good evening, GSM. It's Dan. And man, we wish as a staff that we could be together tonight, hanging out and digging into God's Word. But I'll tell you, if there's any day that I wish it was summer right now, it's today. I mean, we're not canceling GSM Wednesday nights because it's too hot. But the potential ice, we don't want to take any chances. And we love you. We hope you're safe. We hope you're warm. If there's anything you need, please let us know. We want to just give an opportunity tonight to reflect on God and His goodness. And, I'm going to read from Paul David Tripp's New Morning Mercies. It's a devotional that I absolutely love. And I read this morning's and thought, this is a great one to share with my friends tonight. And I just want to read it for you. So the cool thing about this devotional is it really centers upon God's Word, and it really points us to Jesus, even in the things that Paul David Tripp himself says. And so he starts off by saying this: sure, you'll face difficulty. God is prying open your fingers so you'll let go of your dreams, rest in His comforts, and take up His call. And he starts out by saying, think about the words penned by Peter near the beginning of the New Testament letter. 1 Peter 1, verses 6 and 7. Now for a little while, if necessary, you have been grieved by various trials, so that the tested genuineness of your faith, more precious than gold that perishes though it is tested by fire, may be found to result in praise and glory and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. You see, as Peter opens his letter, Paul David Tripp reminds us and tells us that Peter is giving us a past, present, future summary of God's redemptive plan, but his interest is really what God is doing right here, right now, between the first and second comings of Jesus. Because Tripp says of all the words that he could use to describe what God is doing now, he selects these three: grieved, trials, and tested. And I don't know about you, but those are three words that when I wake up, I don't ask God, hey, God, let's make today all about trials and tests and grieving, right? That is not something that we do. Paul David Tripp says, he was like, hey, we're not waking up and saying, Lord, if you love me, you will send more suffering my way today. That's not what we ask for. Rather, when we are living in the middle of difficulty, we are tempted to view it as a sign of God's unfaithfulness or God's inattention. Let me say that again. When we're living in the middle of difficulty, we are tempted to view that suffering, that difficulty, that trial as a sign of God's unfaithfulness or inattention. And what Paul David Tripp says here is, he's like, Peter, however, he doesn't see moments of difficulty as objects in the way of God's plan or an indication of a failure of God's plan. No, for him, for Peter, they're an important part of God's plan. Rather than being signs of his inattention, they are sure signs of the zeal of his redemptive love. And listen to this. Tripp says, in grace, He leads you where you didn't plan to go in order to produce in you what you couldn't achieve on your own. And we'll say it again. In grace, He leads you where you didn't plan to go in order to produce in you what you couldn't achieve on your own. He goes on to say in these moments, He works to alter the values of our heart so that we can let go of our little kingdom of one and give ourselves to His kingdom of glory and grace. And Tripp ends by saying, hey, God is working right now, but not so much to give us predictable, comfortable, and even pleasurable lives. He isn't so much working to transform our circumstances as He is working through hard circumstances to transform you and me. You see, perhaps in hard moments, Tripp says, when we are tempted to wonder where God's grace is. It is grace that we are getting, but not grace, and I love what he says here, in the form of a soft pillow or a cool drink. Rather, in these moments, we are being blessed with the heart-transforming grace of difficulty because, and don't miss this, the God who loves us knows this is exactly the grace that we need. Wow. And he says, if you want to study further, and this is what I would encourage you to do with your friends as you discuss, go to James chapter 1 and read verses 2 through 11. I'm going to read it for us, but I would love for you to think about this and how it applies in your life and discuss this with your friends tonight. And then you want to go a step further, post to social media and tag us. James chapter 1, starting in verse 2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. But when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. That man should not think he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all he does. The brother in humble circumstances ought to take pride in his high position, but the one who is rich should take pride in his low position, because he will pass away like a wildflower. For the sun rises with scorching heat and withers the plant. Its blossom falls and its beauty is destroyed. In the same way, the rich man will fade away even while he goes about his business. Verse 12. Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. Hey students, we love you. Again, we wish we could be together, but I hope this is encouraging to you. I hope that you can take a few moments tonight and center on God's word, center on God himself, and get together with some friends. Maybe it's just through FaceTime or text message or phone calls, whatever it needs to be. But really think about what God is wanting for us through our difficulties. Maybe there's some difficulties you're experiencing right now. Maybe there's some difficulties that you've been experiencing. And know that God is using those to transform you and me. We love you, and we can't wait to see you again Sunday. Peace.